Learning to drive is strange. At first, everything feels exploratory. You're asking questions, making mistakes, trying to understand how the car behaves. The instructor tells you things that feel initially unnatural. Look farther ahead. Don't stare at the steering wheel. Feel the clutch. Trust the mirrors. And slowly, your perspective changes. Not in one dramatic moment, but gradually, through repetition, through comfort, through small realizations. But then the driving test begins, and suddenly everything changes. The examiner enters the car, the clipboard appears, your palms sweat, and now you're not trying to become a better driver anymore, you're trying not to fail. You stop experimenting, you stop becoming curious, you stop exploring. Your entire psychology shifts towards certainty, correctness, survival. And I think enterprise buying works similarly. Most founders believe the buying moment is where buyers become open-minded. The moment buyers finally evaluate the category, understand the problem, appreciate the new approach, see why the product changes the game. But buying environments work differently. The moment evaluation begins, buyers often become less mentally flexible, not more. Because evaluation environments are not designed for perspective shifts. They're designed for decision making. And those are very different psychological states. I read a beautiful quote recently. Start from where your customers are and not where you want them to be. And honestly, most innovation struggles because founders accidentally reverse this. Because entrepreneurs naturally see the world differently. That's usually why they start companies in the first place. They notice assumptions everybody accepts, trade-offs nobody questions, behaviors the market normalized, painful inefficiencies people learn to tolerate. And this matters because genuinely great companies often do require perspective shifts. They challenge how the market thinks. Uber is a great example of this. Because before Uber, getting a cab was strangely physical. You walked outside, you waved at traffic, you negotiated, waited, hoped. Uncertainty was normalized. That was just how transportation worked. Uber challenged that entire behavioral assumption. Not just book taxis through an app, that's too shallow. Uber changed the expectation itself. The transportation could feel predictable, visible, trackable, frictionless. That's a very different worldview. But here's the important part. Uber didn't try to create that perspective shift when someone was already standing roadside desperately trying to get home. That would have been the worst possible moment. Because urgency changes psychology. When someone is already late, already stressed, already trying to reach somewhere, they're not looking to rethink transportation philosophy. They're trying to solve the immediate problem. Take a taxi home. And this is where many B2B companies quietly struggle. They try to create curiosity inside environments dominated by urgency. Think about how Uber actually spread. Billboards in crowded cities, airport ads, conversation between friends, repeated app exposure. People casually hearing, book a cab from your phone. Again and again and again. The perspective shift happened long before the curbside moment arrived. That's the important part. By the time someone actually needed a ride urgently, the idea no longer felt strange. It already felt familiar, already felt understandable, already felt psychologically safe. And I think enterprise buying works similarly. Founders often assume evaluation is where buyers become curious. But evaluation environments usually do the opposite. Because once evaluation begins, pressure enters the room. Budgets, timelines, migration risk, internal approvals, career risk, implementation fear, and uncertainty changes human behavior. The moment pressure enters, people stop expanding mentally. They start narrowing mentally. Just like the driving test, the learner is no longer exploring how driving works. They're trying not to fail in front of the examiner. And buyers behave similarly during enterprise evaluation. They stop asking, what's a radically different way to see this problem? And start asking, will this work? Can this fail? Can I defend this internally? Will this become painful later? That's a completely different psychological environment. And this doesn't mean innovation is wrong. It means timing matters. Perspective shifts require repetition, trust, familiarity, context, psychological safety. The learner becomes a better driver before the driving test begins, not during it. And maybe this is the real mistake many founders make. They believe evaluation is where buyers become curious. But evaluation is usually where buyers become conservative, because buying environments optimize for certainty, alignment, risk reduction, and clarity, not perspective shifts, not worldview changes, not philosophical exploration. And maybe that's why so many genuinely innovative products struggle to gain traction early. Not because the product is wrong, but because the market first encounters it inside environments designed for certainty, not curiosity. And maybe this is the real challenge for founders building genuinely different products. The goal is not just creating a new perspective. The goal is helping buyers arrive there before urgency enters the room. Because by the time buyers formally start comparing vendors, they are often no longer trying to rethink the road. They are just trying not to crash.